G'day guys. I couldn't find any footage out there of anyone installing the ARB base rack to any utes or anything like that, so I've just made a video of my own. This is the first time I've done it, so I'm just kind of winging it, but hopefully it helps someone else. First thing you want to do is just make sure you've got all the parts. I just went through the checklist and ticked everything off. Next you have to remove the trim on the top of the ute on both sides. I did this using flathead screwdrivers. It's pretty easy. You just got to make sure that you put masking tape down or painting tape or whatever on both sides, just so you don't damage your vehicle. Alright, I've pried it up. I'm trying to get the rest of it off. I just kept pulling it up. It was pretty easy to come off. There was double-sided tape there. Some of it came off, is what it is, doesn't really matter. Alright, so that came off very nicely. The tape's pretty good. You do the exact same thing on the other side, just put your tape down again. Now we got to locate the captive nut holes. There's 4 on each side, and we'll clean them out. So those captive nut holes are super easy to spot. You just get your Stanley knife and clear out the holes. It's just bogged paint. Just get rid of the tape and the paint, just scrape out it a bit. Oh, it's pretty shonky, but it did the trick. I just used needle nose pliers to get out the cut bit. Whatever works for you, just exposes the nut hole. Alrighty, on this next step, there's rubber gaskets, which will basically be the base of the plates. For whatever reason, ARB decided not to make them fit to size, so you just got to cut them in half, which is in the instructions, just so they fit on each plate. You can see here that the mounting brackets are 2 different sizes, one's for the front and one's for the rear. It's easy to tell which one goes where because they won't line up in the holes if they don't fit. Back to the rubber gaskets. I'm just pulling out the little cutout rubber bit in the middle of them. That's where the bolts are going to go through. So you just pull the rubber out and make the hole. Very easy. As per the ARB instructions, you get silicone spray, and I'm just going to spray the rubber gasket holes where those bolts are going to go through. It's just going to help it lubricate and go through the holes easier without getting the rubber ripped or whatever. Like that. That. Then we're going to pop this one on like so. I think. Slowly feed it in through the hole. Should be a bit of a challenge. So you can see how that's done there. So it's bolt, washer, plate, and then the gasket. So this is them ready to go, ready to be bolted in with the gaskets on the base. Just make sure you spray the holes with the silicone spray. Excuse my shakiness. When it comes to mounting them, make sure that the welded nut is facing towards the center of the vehicle, like so. And same with the front and rear. So both sides, the welded nut you want facing towards the center of the vehicle. Same process on the front end with the bigger mounting bracket thingies. You just want them facing, like with the nut facing towards the center of the vehicle again. Alright, once the mounting brackets are on all 4 sides, you want to now measure out your trim. So you get your trim, you mark where you're going to cut it. So basically you just want it neat with the sides of those brackets. And then you just snip it with, I'd use tin snips because there is like some kind of metal material in there. Next you get the provided double-sided tape, and you cut it into approximately 50mm lengths. This will be to stick the trim down, because you've pulled it up, it's kind of lost its stickiness from the old tape. And you attach it to the trim that you've trimmed. I had to use my wife here because I have no nails and she does, so she peeled it off for me. Right, next bit of trim. I already did this part and forgot to video it, so you can already see the line that I've marked. But yeah, just an approximate. It doesn't have to be perfect. Some people leave the trim off altogether. Just looks kind of nice. I don't know. Helps with waterproofing. I'd assume not as much because it's not in as perfect. Oh. This last little bit of trim was tricky, just because this specific model of car, the Isuzu, there's only like I'd say it's, what, 20mm gap there. In hindsight, I should have just used a length of rubber, but I snipped it on the plastic, which was the original end. It ended up worked fine. Hey. Don't forget to put your double-sided tape underneath each little bit of trim, front and back, or in that case, just one little piece. So same process on both sides. Here's the mostly finished product. I got to pat down the trim, make it look a lot neater. With this next step, we're measuring on from bolt hole to bolt hole. It's the exterior side, so it'll be the side closest to you when you're standing, to the exterior of the other side. You do that for both front and back, just because there might be slight differences in the distances, depending on how you bolted those plates on originally. Make sure you write down those measurements. There's a spot for it in the instruction booklet. Mine specifically was front 1122mm and rear 1120mm. Alrighty, next step, you want to get your base rack and have it upside down. It's obvious to tell, there's the lettering, it's upside down, but also the bracket slits are on the base side of it. Alright, we'll get this. You see there's these bevels here. Make sure that they're sticking upwards, beveled out, and popping them in like so. Alright. Gonna get them now. Just gonna pop them in like so. And rotate. We're gonna do that to the 4 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just want to point out at this point that those plates, they could have been rotated the other way, I suppose. But the thing that you're securing it to, it has 4 bolt holes, so I don't think it really matters. Never said anything about it in the instructions, so I'm sure it'll be fine. For where I'm securing it to my ute, I've got it on the second to the last rail on the base plate. All 4 secured. Alright, this far goes here like so. And then, and this one, so your washer nut. So if we go up close, washer nut. Fuck me.
I haven't been able to do one either.
There we go. So we're just finger tightening them, having the nut on the top, obviously. Alright, there was nothing in the instructions whatsoever about what was the front end and what was the rear. But I figured out the front end was the one with the rail step back, because you can add accessories like the wind deflector and stuff onto that end rail. So that's just how I assumed there was the front end. I think the instructions were purposely difficult to encourage people to pay to get it installed. So to make sure that those sides are spaced evenly, I have to find the middle of the base plate thingy, the base rack. So I'm just measuring across, finding the middle of that. And then with those measurements, the 1120 and 1122, I just halve that and I go from those sides. So I find the center. So for example, for 1120, I find half that, which is 560, and I just measure 560 from the center. So here I'm just trying to mark out the middle for where I'm going to measure from. So remembering that in my case, the rear between those bracket points was 1120, I'm finding the middle, and then I'm going 560 each side. So that finds from the middle, 560 each side, that comes to 1120.
Yeah. 560.
So I'm just tightening the nuts here, firm enough that it won't move if I bump it, but loose enough that I can adjust it if required. So same on the other side, 560, which will bring that to 1120 apart. So then at the front, my measurement was, I think it was 1122, so it'll just be 561 mil on each side. So that's what I do there. After we've done that, we just got to measure across, make sure that I've done it right. So up here we want it to be 1122 at the front, and then at the rear we want it to be 1120, which in this case it does not come out as that, so I do some more adjusting.
On this side there? Well, that one's way off.
Well, you're a bit wonky.
Nah.
Once the measurements are all done, go ahead and tighten it up. I think in the manual there was a specific torque that was required. I just used elbow grease and made sure that it was tight. She's not going anywhere. Now for the final step, should have been the easiest step, just putting the rack on top onto the mounting brackets, but my wife was too short, so we had to try a couple of things. You'll see. I ended up getting a blanket, like a big quilt thing, and I put the base rack on top of it, and then Rachel dragged it towards her, which worked nicely. But you can't really tell from the video, but it was getting very dark and we had to abandon ship for the evening. Start it again tomorrow. Alright, the next day I got my brother-in-law to come over and give me a hand. He's a little bit taller. So we got the roof rack on, lined up the mounting brackets with the holes, and then we just used the little screws that were provided with the washers. Sorry, I don't have a close-up of that. It's very straightforward. And just screwed them in to those existing nut holes. I ended up with 10 spare washers at the end, but I followed the instructions, so maybe they're for the wind deflector or something. I don't know. But here we go. All done and completed. I hope this video helped you guys.